I know keeping track of CLE can be a real pain sometimes. You have email copies of certificates, paper copies, paper logs, whatever you have. It gets confusing. And then at the end of your compliance period, you're left scrambling, being, I know I got this. What ethics do I need? What this do I need? Specialty credits. It can be really tough. So when you use ClickUp, you can do everything inside ClickUp and keep track of your CLE requirements in real time. I'm Catherine Porter, and I am a California attorney with over 20 years of experience. And I'm also the principal and founder of the Resource Woman LLC. We work with lawyers and law firms to set up systems so even the most complex matters can run efficiently, smoothly, and more profitably. Okay, so what I've done to track CLE in ClickUp is create a list just for CLE. And here is the view you can see. Here's my list. I just call it CLE Tracker. I do create a template, so that's just a little note to myself there. And I've got some directions up here, so if someone does use the template, they'll have the directions written right in. All right, so there are a couple of different ways to actually enter CLE events, activities, and for the first one I'm going to show you is for everyone, and the second one is really slick and easy, but it is only available on a paid plan. All right, so let me show you how I set this up. The task name is the activity. You see I've got some samples here. And assignee is really the person who's getting credit for that event. And if you're just using it for yourself, you probably don't need to put yourself in there. If you're not, if you're trying to track a group of people, then maybe you, and they're all in ClickUp assuming, or at least as guests, then you can change the assignees. You can add multiple assignees as well. Now, again, I'm California attorney, so I've set this up to match California's requirements. And I have the different specialty requirements that we need. And in parentheses, in the field name, you'll see the number, and that's how many hours are required for that particular specialty. So you see ethics is 4. I've gone to a couple events. The one had 15 minutes, one had half an hour. So my total down here is 3/4 of an hour. Now in this template, it's already set to calculate. But if you want to change it yourself, you'll just click on underneath it. If you're setting this up for yourself, if you click underneath the column, you will get a calculate button will appear, and you can just use that. And this is the date one, so it's going to be a little different. But if it's a number one like this, it will say sum. Will be an option, so you can just choose that. Now you can set up yours differently, but if you do use a template like this, for me, I just wanted to share one thing about this. The general column means it is the general credit that you've received for that was not a specialty credit. So a lot of times events are only fully just general. So that'd be like 1 hour or 1.5 hours. But if it's got, let's say it's an hour-long event and it's got half an hour on ethics and half an hour on general, then you'd put the 0.5 in the ethics column and then the 0.5 in the general column. And then this is a formula over here, total for event, and it has the total. It adds those columns up as the row up, I guess I should say. All right, so the only downside to doing it this way is that you cannot actually calculate from the formula here. So that is a disadvantage, and I'm working on some ideas of how to work around that. But for now, just know that you can't total it. So you're just going to either have to total it up yourself, or add these columns here manually, the numbers, and add them up. So then I get my total for event. And then, of course, you want to put the event date. And if you have a certificate of compliance, you can drag and drop it into this field. And I also, in California, we're limited to how many hours we can have a self-study. So you might want to make a note of that by clicking in that box. To add your certificate of compliance, you click in this column. You can either upload a file from your computer or any of these other sources, or you can drag and drop it right there. So I'm going to go over here, drag a certificate there. I just drop it into that box and boom, there's my certificate of compliance. So now I have everything related to that CLE activity in one place. All right, so for the two ways we can add credit. We can add a new task by clicking new task down here and giving it a name. Let's say it is solo firm accounting practices. So that's our made up CLE. I can go ahead there. I'm going to assign it. I was the one getting credit for that. Didn't have any ethics. It had 0.25 that was certified for competency issues. And it was maybe February. And then again, I could drag and drop my compliance certificate in there. Now that's one way to do it. And you can fill in the numbers for these here. So the other way, if you are on a paid plan, you can use a form view to make entering this even easier. And also the great thing is you can actually share that form view with other people in your firm or whoever, maybe your assistant, and they can enter that information for you. So let me show you over here. Okay, before I do that, you can see this is my all CLE tracker and then my CLE tracker. And this is a view I created. And if you're managing a group of attorneys or people that are tracking CLE, you might want to have this view, which is defaulted to me mode. So whoever clicks on it, if I click on it, it's going to show me mine. If it's, my friend Gina, it's going to show her, only hers. And so that's kind of a handy little view to have on there if you are tracking for multiple people. Now, the last way to enter this information, which again, I think is pretty slick and I think you'll like it, is a form view. Now, to create a form view, you click on view and you go down here and there's a form view and you can call it whatever you want, pin it if you like. And then add the view. I'm not going to add it because I already created one. So here is my CLE record entry form. And you can see, let me move myself out of the way here. All right. So now we can just quickly type in everything here. Name of the event. Let's see. It's tree law, which is actually an event I went to one time years ago. Select the date, like maybe it was back in December. And I am getting credit for it. And I want to put that in there because that way it shows up on my CLE tracker. I do have it as a required field. You could make it not required, but again, it's helpful if you want it to show up on your tracker. If you're just tracking it for yourself, you don't need this field at all. And you could definitely at least make it so it's not required. I have check here if it's self-study. And then I have these questions match up to the fields on my list. So again, you might want to adjust these if you're in another jurisdiction, if you have other requirements. How many hours qualify for general credit, CLE credit only? How many hours for ethics? So you just enter your numbers here all the way down and you can drag and drop your certificate of compliance. So here is my certificate of compliance. I just enter that. So let me show you. Okay, so we've got tree law. This was just full 1 hour of general only, didn't have any ethics. I've got my certificate of compliance there and I'm going to click on submit. And now if I go over to my CLE tracker, there we go. There's my tree law event with all of the data filled in. My columns have the totals along here on the bottom have, have updated. So I know I've got 3/4 of an hour on confidence issues, so out of 1, so I'm pretty good there. Anyway, you get the idea. So that is how I use ClickUp to track CLE. I think it can be really helpful. It's really easy. And if you do have a paid plan and you use that form view, I think it makes it even easier. Because one thing I wanted to point out too on the form is you can share this form either within ClickUp or you can make it, here's a private link so you could send it to anyone in your firm and they can enter their time. If they're in ClickUp, they'll be able to choose themselves as an assignee. And so this is a great way to have them, to keep everybody up to date and have other people help you enter those activities. So to stay up to date on how to use ClickUp as a lawyer or legal professional, make sure you subscribe to this channel. And you can also head on over to theresourcewoman.com where you can find more resources to help you manage your practice so that even the most complex matters practically manage themselves.